It is time for another episode of the Fight HQ podcast. Of course, I'm Jason Floyd. That is a fighter, Pete Rogers Jr., here to break down UFC 327 DFS strategy, predictions, help you take down those slates tomorrow on DraftKings. Pete, how's it going, brother?
What is up, my brother? Always a pleasure to see you and break down another card. I'm excited for this card. It's a pretty good one, Jason.
Yeah, I think when you talk about the depth of this card, I think you have to go back a while to find a depth that we've had on the card, especially when we're talking about number of events. Of course, so we did lose a title fight last weekend, Joshua Van versus Tatsu Taira. That fight has now been moved to UFC 328. So we'll get into breaking this one down for you. Of course, if you do got any questions, you can line those up in the chat. Also, you can check out our Discord channel. A link to that is in the description below. But of course, we're coming here following UFC Vegas 115. Congratulations to 𝗲𝗄𝐻84 for taking down the Fight HQ DraftKings contest, scoring 589 points. Our top performers last week: McMillan with 130, Costa at 110, 𝗃𝐃𝐢𝐬𝐜𝐵 at 109, Verna at 104, Pereira at 103, Ewing 101, Tresean Gore at 97, Moncano also at 97. The Duds, Guilherme Pat, 8 points. Duncan 11 points, Venata 27 points, Ricci 37 points, Bakoyev in the loss 63 points, which, you know, that's something that we talked about last week, was if Bakoyev did not get that finish early, that Gore was potentially a guy to look at as live in the second and third round, Pete.
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to run around the room with my hands up just because that fight went exactly how you and I said, right? Like, we've had to favor Azamat Bakoyev, but you know, I feel like Tresean Gore was slept on like the most on the entire card. I mean, he was the biggest underdog, if I remember correctly. Yeah, I mean, you know, you saw the cardio, you saw, you know, the skills that Tresean Gore does have, and the power, and then the guillotine. It was a crazy turn of events. But I felt like if you listen to the podcast and you kind of scaled your exposures correctly and you listened to our read on that fight, I was like, man, I hope somebody took advantage of that Gore, that Gore analysis. And then in the Fight HQ contest, you had him, didn't you? Put him in your lineup?
Yeah, I had Gore in there. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. So, like, I mean, Jason was brave enough to put him in that line. Did you end up cashing, or you're like in fourth place?
I was in fourth place. Unfortunately, I was, let's just say I was rooting for the Melissa Gatto DQ win because I think if that would happen,
it should have been too.
Yeah, just kind of that's really a weird of just kind of how that all went down, and a fighter that looked like she was out. Seen a lot of things in the sport. I mean,
especially in Vegas too, right? Were they in Vegas?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, that's supposed to be the mecca of like the standard. And to me, I was like, I don't understand why this fight is continuing. Either it is a DQ or you're calling it a legal blow. What are we talking about? How can she continue?
Yeah, it's just an odd scene. I mean, I remember when they continued the fight, and I want to say it was Cormier and Bisping that were on the broadcast, and they're both kind of sitting there going, what is going on here? Like, but, you know, it is there. I mean, you know, the funniest thing with Barboza in that one is talk about how she doesn't play soccer. Okay. All right. Or to the fact of, I'm like, yeah, you didn't throw that shot to try to knock her out. Like, come on. Like, you know, look, it's the MMA game. Weird things happen each and every week. Of course, we do have our DraftKings contest for UFC 327. The link to that is in the description below. Also, in that description below is a link to Pete's Patreon page. Pete, let everyone know what they can get over at your Patreon.
Yeah, thanks for the support for all the Patreon members. You know, just a nice sheet that shows all the records of each fighter, the physical advantages, the size and reach, the age, you know, how active they've been since 2024, and then of course the stats versus their opponents, you know, defensive numbers. So we could start to target some of these takedown props. We can see where they, you know, certain fighters are, you know, inefficient, but throw with tons of volume. So maybe we could look at some total strikes, and then we could also target fighters with poor defense too. So I use it a lot for my live betting, and it's pretty helpful.
Yeah, definitely check that out. Great stuff that Pete has there over on his Patreon page. We're going to move right into UFC 327, talk about game theory, and a very interesting slate that we have tomorrow on DraftKings, Pete. To the fact of we only have 2 fighters in the 9,000 range, and they're in the low 9,000 range. We have no 6,000 fighters. We have 2 fights that have the same exact, 2 fights that have the same exact size. Actually, no, more than that. We have, 2 fights at the 8,300, 7,900 level, also at the 8,400, 7,800 number. Just kind of a weird week on DraftKings here. And, I've been seeing some of the things that are getting posted online about DFS this week. And I'll start with Aaron Pico. And while I understand why people may not have a lot of faith in him, I do see the path to a very high score.
It's tough. It is tough, right? I mean, he's Mr. Unreliable for like what he's been in the UFC. Granted, coming into the UFC fighting Lerone Murphy, looking good until he didn't. But I mean, the wrestling upside. I mean, I would love for him to go out there and just showcase his wrestling talent. But he's really fallen in love with his hands, and that's been a curse that has really plagued him even throughout his Bellator career. Of like, if he's a great hammer, but he's a terrible nail. And the way somebody said it, he's a glass cannon, where like he's so dangerous, where he can really knock you out with any shot that he throws. Like everything's coming from a cannon. But if you hit him, he's got a glass jaw. So it's very dangerous. But I don't ever really remember a slate like this. So I'm like, where are the spend ups? Like, I don't want to spend 9,000 for Kelvin Gastelum. Like, I mean, I'll get to him, but like, where's the finishing equity? I mean, he's a decision guy, and if he finds a finish, maybe it's against the aging Vicente Luque. Aaron Pico, I mean, this is a good spot for people that are unaware of who Aaron Pico is, but I mean, he's got to be careful. That chin can't get cracked by Patricio Pitbull, who is one of the best 145 and 55 pounders within the past decade. Granted, he's approaching 40, so if there's even a slight step backwards from where he used to be, Pico should go out there and expose it.
Yeah, I mean, the grappling upside of Pico, Kelvin Gastelum, it's really hard to get at 9,000 him, but could be a situation where you look at potentially a value there at 9,000. Like, when I look at GPP fights for me, the main event, 2 GPP fights, and they're both on the main card. The other one being Dominick Reyes and Johnny Walker. Johnny Walker just one of those guys. And like I have in my notes, like, do you trust him? Like, he is Mr. Boom Bust. I mean, he's either going to go out and get you 100 points or he's going to get you 5. And I feel like there is no in between.
Yeah, it's really hard, right? Because like if you were projecting medians, they're probably going to have lower medians than usual, because when they win, they have a high score, and when they lose, they got single digits or nothing. So, you have to be very careful. But I do feel like it is a DFS necessity. Truthfully, I mean, the price point, the way that they both fight, how bad both of their chins are at this point, and and they're both aggressive. So I would agree. I would say the main event is a priority. I would say the Johnny Walker and Dominick Reyes fight is a priority. And then another fight that I'm targeting a lot is the Curtis Blaydes and Josh Hokit fight, which we'll get to, but I just find the winner of that one to score quite well.
Yeah, I mean, you look at both those guys having the wrestling abilities, and speaking of the wrestling, one of the things I have written down here is the takedown threats, and I've labeled 6 fighters that stick out to me the most. Blaydes and Hokit are 2 of those 6, the other being Aaron Pico, Mateusz Gamrot, Tatiana Suarez, and I also throw Jiri Prochazka in there as well. I think he's a sneaky takedown guy this week, and and when you're looking at the cash games, I feel like if I'm developing a cash games lineup, I think I'm starting with Mateusz Gamrot.
Yeah, I mean, pound for pound, he's my favorite play on the entire slate. And the reason is because he's facing a very dangerous striker. And Esteban Hribovits is good, but this is a massive step up in competition. I mean, you talk about Gamrot and, everybody that trains an American Top Team, they have nothing but high praises for this gentleman. I mean, the control time, the takedowns, the scrambling ability. So, like, they just don't stop. So you need to go out there and stifle him early and be able to defend as much as he throws at you. And I just don't expect that to happen in that matchup. So Gamrot for me is my favorite play on the entire slate. Obviously, like on the feet, he can get knocked down. He's been knocked down in like five fights or something crazy like that. Yeah. So you got to worry about the chin. But, good thing is that's not what he's usually going out there and doing. He's even taken down 𝗲𝗏𝘁𝘀.
One fighter did miss weight earlier today. That was Chris Padilla, weighing in 158 pounds, so 2 pounds over the limit of 156 there at the lightweight division. He has been fined 20% of his purse. The fight will go on. Everyone else on weight, and most notably when we the main event fighters, Jiri coming in at 203 pounds, Ulberg coming in at 204 pounds. Of course, as always, appreciate everyone checking out this episode of the Fight HQ podcast. Of course, whether you're checking us out on YouTube or on the podcasting platforms, be sure to hit that follow button, hit that subscribe button. Also, if you're watching us on YouTube, hit that thumbs up button. If you do have a question for the show, you can leave that in chat. But let's get right into breaking this one down. Of course, the main event will be for the vacant light heavyweight title. Jiri Prochazka taking on Carlos Ulberg, as Jiri comes in here as a slight betting favorite, -120, +100 for Ulberg. And we look at DraftKings. This is our A200 8,000 fight with Jiri Prochazka coming in at A200, Carlos Ulberg coming in at 8,000. And I feel like this is a stat, Pete, I always bring up when we talk about Jiri Prochazka in terms of his fighting abilities. The last time Jiri Prochazka saw a decision, it was not in the UFC. We got to go 10 years ago, 2016 in Rizin. That was only a 2-round fight. Last time he went 3 rounds into a decision, that was 2016. One of the things I do wonder, how many people realize that Carlos Ulberg is actually the older fighter in this situation, 35 years old versus 33 of Jiri Prochazka. And to me, when I think about this fight, Pete, and I don't know if you view it the same way, it is, how does Jiri get away from the left hook of Carlos Ulberg, and how does Ulberg potentially make sure he doesn't find himself on his back?
Yeah, I mean, I will tell you that this matchup is a fantastic main event. I am torn, and I've gone back and forth all week long. I mean, I think that Carlos Ulberg is a phenomenal striker and one of the best fighters in the division, and that's clearly why he's getting this opportunity. And Jiri Prochazka is a proven commodity and a very dangerous fighter in his own right. When you look at the two of them, you have a very technical striker in Carlos Ulberg, who is a master at distance, space, range management, and is a very good counter fighter. He'll pull you into a false sense of security, play on the back foot a little bit, and then he will capitalize with some big counter shots. And it's worked a lot because people come out way too hot and too aggressive. So Jiri Prochazka needs to be careful because, naturally he's an aggressive, an aggressive fighter who can somewhat get off to a slow start. And he's been talking about coming out a little bit more aggressive. Well, he needs to be calculated in doing so because when he crashes forward, Carlos will kind of pull you into those counters. I mean, he keeps a long, extended lead hand, has a good jab, good left hook, has a piston of a right hand. And I think that Jiri, is known for what he can do offensively. Defensively, I think he's a very flawed fighter. I really do. I mean, I've been talking about, the head movement of Jiri Prochazka is fantastic, but the hand placement and just the habits that he has can be exposed by smarter teams, by smarter fighters, and high-level athletes. And, Alex Pereira went out there and saw a tendency for Jiri Prochazka and head kicked him. I mean, so like outside of Alex Pereira, like Jiri has shown that he can, absorb, withstand damage, and come back and turn the tide of a fight. And that's what I'm so torn on this fight, because if it's a 3-round bout, I'm picking Carlos Ulberg all day long. With the 5 rounds, I do worry that if Carlos doesn't find the kill shot, what happens? Does he fatigue late? Does he start to get pressed against the cage? Does he start to get hit a little bit. What does his cardio look like? We haven't seen him in a 5-round fight, whereas 𝗵𝗄𝗄 is completely proven as a former champ. You know what I mean? Like he's proven that he can be going 5 hard rounds. I mean, look at the 𝗵𝗄𝘁𝘀 fight. That was a ridiculous fight that, until the final bell, he's going to go out there and fight for your dollar and picks up a submission win over 𝗵𝗄𝘁𝘀, which is crazy. I say all of that to say that, Ulberg is definitely the cleaner, more efficient striker. And he lands at a similar rate that 𝗵𝗄𝘄𝘁 does, but he takes less damage. And his footwork is great, and he utilizes good leg kicks, which as a coach, I would be leg kicking and calf kicking the hell out of 𝗵𝗄𝘁𝘁, who has shown a deficiency to his striking defense in that department. And then when Jiri tries to crash forward, or he's kind of flattening the tire, if you will, he's more hittable. And, Jiri's chaos will always be live and make him dangerous, especially late, like in rounds 3, 4, and 5. But I'm going to say that Ulberg's control and defense will give him a slight edge in a very competitive fight. So I'm picking Carlos Ulberg here, whether he ends it early or he pitter-patters his way to a 25-minute decision. That would be very surprising. I will put a small wager on Carlos Ulberg via decision, but most likely somebody's getting knocked out in the first 3 rounds.
Yeah, I mean, when I look at this, Pete, I almost feel like you want to talk about a parlay piece, and I think it's absolutely juice. I want to say it's like minus 350. Is the fight does not go to the decision. I mean, the number's juice, but the more likely than not, probably 8 out of 10 times, maybe 9 out of 10 times, this fight's probably not going to hit the 4th or 5th round. I mean, I agree with a lot you said there. I mean, I do have concerns about Ulberg if this thing hits the championship rounds. And you bring up a lot of great points about 𝗵𝗄𝘁𝘁𝘁. I think Jiri gets it done, and I think he is a sneaky takedown fighter this week. And when we're talking about GPPs, it is absolutely hard. I mean, like, if you want to get different than the field, this is exactly an easy way to get different than the field. But the price point to me is why you go there. When you look at the decision props, plus 475 for Ulberg to win via decision.
I like that.
Yeah, I mean, the question is, it gets it to minute 25, and also could be a very good live betting opportunity on either one of these sides. You might get a much better number after 5 minutes of fighting in terms of that one. Next up, the co-main event is also a light heavyweight matchup where we're seeing a middleweight come up to 205 pounds. That is Paulo Costa taking on Azamat Murzakanov. Murzakanov, a 2-1 betting favorite here, plus 165 for Costa. He's priced at 7,300 DK. Murzakanov is priced at 8,900. He's 7-0 in the UFC, Pete. 6 of those 7 wins have come by TKO KOs. Last 2 fights ending in the first round. I mentioned about Costa moving up the light heavyweight. He has been a guy that has been going the distance. His last 5 fights have gone the distance, Pete.
Yeah, I mean, this is an interesting matchup, right? Paulo Costa is a guy that, for whatever reason, us fans love to place an underdog wager on. He's a fun fighter. He's entertaining on the mic, entertaining via social media, but he's a really good fighter as well. I mean, I think his best days are behind him, but he's clearly live to spoil the party for an up-and-comer or give a prospect a real test and a real run for their money. And that's what I think is going to happen in this matchup between Paulo Costa and Azamat Murzakanov, because they're both very talented on the feet. The opposite stance of Murzakanov should provide Costa with some issues. Even though Costa, his durability is top of the line, his experience against elite competition can give him some real underdog value. And obviously if this approaches the, later round 2, round 3, I would think that, because of what we've seen, Murzakanov might be dogging it a little bit and Costa may be able to pick up some momentum and pick up some steam. But I will say that there's a big gap here with the power. Costa hits really, really hard. But that left hand of Murzakanov is it really is like a cannon. And I do worry about Costa's tendencies against some left-handed fighters. He's shown to have, good moments and pick up some wins, but I just see real shots landing. That left hand, the knee up the middle for Murzakanov. And also like wrestling, like grappling. I mean, Murzakanov is, a sambo expert and one that has proven that you can't judge a book by its cover because he's pretty unassuming. And if you're looking at, these guys in a physique contest, Paulo Costa wins that all day long. But I actually think that, Azamat Murzakanov being a little bit more efficient, being a little cleaner, and a little bit more confidence, I think that he wins this fight. And I also think that he can actually hurt and possibly knock out Paulo Costa. But I would place a small wager on that, but I'm going to give some respect to Paulo Costa. He's been hit with some big shots in the past, and outside of Israel Adesanya, he hasn't really shown any true chin issues. So I'm going to say Murzakanov gets it done, and I think it's going to be he's a real problem. I really do think that he's a real problem, but he needs to make sure that his cardio is in check, because if he's not, Paulo Costa is live to make this competitive. And it's not where I this fight where I think it's going to be a blowout, but I think that Murzakanov is going to be more efficient, and I think he's going to get his hands raised.
Yeah, I agree with you going with Murzakanov here. I mean, when I look at Paulo Costa, and this is more on the betting side than on the DFF side of this equation, the Costa wins by decision at plus 475. He finds a way to win these decisions. Do have concerns about how does he fit fighting at 205 pounds as opposed to fighting at 185. But Murzakanov is a guy that you can certainly make the case that he is probably in line to be fighting for the UFC light heavyweight title by the time we get to the end of 2026, depending on kind of how the rest of this division plays out. Does Alex come back to 205 or does he stay at heavyweight? But yeah, I think Murzakanov to me is the pick. But, if you're looking for, a punt type option, I don't mind getting Costa, but would say slight concern about what that fantasy score upside is, but when you're priced at 7,300, it's not like we need to go out there and get 85, 90 points. You can sit there and give me 70 points and I'd be happy at 7,300. Then we got a heavyweight matchup as Curtis Blaydes taking on Josh Hokit. Curtis Blaydes, the slight betting favorite here, minus 130, minus 105 for Hokit, who's priced at 7,800 on DK, and it's 8,400 for Blaydes. Blaydes, by the way, whether you want to take this into note when we're talking about heavyweight division, weighing 28 pounds more than Josh Hokit, weighing in at 261. Josh Hokit weighing in at 233 pounds. One of the things when I was putting my sheet together and I see the Curtis Blaydes via submission prop. Hey, books, you could put this at plus 10,000. If you want to make free money, there's a way to make free money because he ain't going for a submission, folks. I mean, I don't know if Curtis Blaydes even attends a jiu-jitsu class based on what we've seen from him here. Of course, all of his fights in his entire career have either ended by knockout or by decision. For Josh Hokit, one of the things and I was telling Pete before the show this, and we have all seen the persona that he's putting out there. I mean, it's more cringy, and I will look, I do another podcast with a Hispanic, and he flat out, he threw out, racist tendencies that you see from Josh Hokit. But I think the thing that we have to talk about is the fighting ability of Josh Hokit. You can talk about the wrestling abilities has, but Pete, a certain question to have about him is from a fighting aspect, what happens if this fight hits minute 8?
I mean, I'm glad that you brought up the weight disparity, because I think that Curtis Blaydes is a staple within the heavyweight division, and he's a real heavyweight, where I think that Josh Hokit, he's smaller. He has a good gas tank. At least it seems like that so far. But I think that he's undersized for the division. I mean, we see Jailton Almeida was undersized for a while, and in certain matchups, it didn't matter. And in certain matchups, you're like, oh my gosh, like he does not look like he belongs in his weight class. So he started to fill out a little bit. I mean, I really do think that Josh Hokit is just an overblown light heavyweight, to be honest. But I will say that the skills that he possesses are top of the line. I mean, he's won us a lot of money. I mean, we love betting on Josh Hokit because I know what he's going to do. He's going to come out there hot out the gate, round one, look to hit you with big shots to hurt you. If he's not having success or you're starting to open up a little too much with the hands, he's going to chain wrestle. And that's the big difference is for somebody within the heavyweight division, he really chain wrestles. And that was on display in the Contender Series fight. And I think that this guy is really good. I really do. And I just don't really understand the matchmaking here because not too long ago we had Curtis Blaydes against Tom Aspinall. And not too long ago we had Curtis Blaydes against 𝗏𝗏𝘁𝐿. And I mean, has the mighty fallen this far to be getting upset by the next up-and-coming guy? I just think that it's a massive step up in competition. I mean, it really is. So I can't even really put a label on how big of a step up in competition this is, but there are some defensive deficiencies and issues that Curtis Blaydes has, right? Like he's chinny at times. He's been hit, hurt, rocked numerous times, knocked out. He can be taken down as evidenced by Jailton Almeida. But if you don't get him out of there in round one, he's able to come back, get his composure in between rounds, has a good corner, trains at elevation. He can wrestle, which is always an ace up your sleeve in the heavyweight division. He can put Hokit on his back. And I would love to see what Hokit looks like on his back. And one of these days, Jason, we'll stop burning money and betting on Curtis Blaydes to win via submission. But one of these days it's going to happen. So guess what? I'm not going to stop until I hit it. So I will be placing small unit size on Curtis Blaydes to win via submission. But I mean, this is what I'm saying is like Blaydes has offensive wrestling and defensive wrestling. He has a well-educated jab. He could literally outstrike Josh Hokit. And if this touches round two, I would be worried because I just haven't seen Hokit deal with that adversity yet. Where I've seen Blaydes lose, yes, but I've also seen Blaydes deal with adversity and come back. I'm expecting Blaydes to kind of give Josh Hokit a vet lesson, even though I do think the winner of this is a necessity. I think you need it for your DFS lineups. I think one way or another we're going to get a big score. But yeah, I'm going to say that Blaydes ultimately, imposes his wrestling, controls the fight with some takedowns or some cage control. And either grinds out a tough decision or finds a late TKO. So I'm going Curtis Blaydes here to kind of spoil the party for Josh Hokit. And Hokit doesn't look that – I mean, Colby Covington doesn't look that bad compared to Josh Hokit when it comes to, the personas. Hokit's pretty annoying. But, I mean, credit to him. He's getting people to talk about him.
Look, I mean, that is the one thing is he's getting people to talk about him. But, yeah, it's, Dana White said yesterday, he goes, not my thing. I'm glad you mentioned the decision props because that is something that I do find intriguing on the betting side. Blaydes plus 260, Hokit plus 525. Look, when Curtis Blaydes gets guys down, I mean, his ground and pound is super impressive. And I mean, I don't know how many times me and you have sat on this show every time we break down a Curtis Blaydes fight where you watch that fight film and there's just times where you're just like, Jesus Christ, dude. Like the neck is just there.
Yeah. I could see it. Let me kind of interject real quick I can see that I could see it actually happening in this matchup more than others because he's facing another wrestler. So what happens is if Curtis Blaydes takes down Hokit, right? Naturally, Hokit in his mind is back into wrestling, so he's going to belly out and expose his back. I could just see a rear naked choke happening, but we've been saying that for how many fights now about Curtis Blaydes?
It's one of those things that it would be very interesting to know if you were in the Jackson Wink room for the last 6 to 8 weeks as they were getting ready for this fight, how much that topic of conversation came up.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good point. I mean, because you could, I don't know. I think having good top position is great. Having good ground and pound is great, but pick a couple submissions that really don't put you in a bad position.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not saying go for a triangle from full mount, you know what I mean? But can we work on an arm triangle attempt? If we have the back of somebody, can we put some hooks in and either make them decide if they want to get pounded out or rear naked choked. You know what I mean? Like when you start to incorporate different threats, it'll open up, different spots of the game. Look like last weekend. I was so happy that my reads were right about 𝗛𝗏𝘁𝘀. Like good ground and pound, but also the best jiu-jitsu, I think some of the best jiu-jitsu within that division. You know what I mean? So when you combine the two, and that's what American Top Team is starting to do, I think that's the way to teach wrestlers to become even more dangerous.
And I think the other thing in the Hokit situation is he's not had to weather adversity yet.
Yep.
What's going to happen if Curtis Blaydes gets off to a great start? How does he react? I mean, but I'm with you. I think this is a hard fight to avoid because of the grappling that both of these guys have and the potential just fantasy score upside they both have. Next up, we got a light heavyweight matchup that I feel is a fight we have to target for GPPs. Dominick Reyes taking on Johnny Walker. Dom Reyes priced at 8,300 DK. Walker priced at 7,900. Reyes comes in here as a minus 145 betting favorite, plus 120 for Johnny Walker. Last time we saw Dom Reyes was that first round loss to Carlos Ulberg. Prior to that, we saw a resurgence in his career after, taking a couple of years off. When you look at Johnny Walker this week, hinting about a potential move up to heavyweight, but, to me, Pete, this is about Johnny Walker. Can you trust him? Because he is the ultimate boom bust play, and I don't care who's standing on the other side of the cage from him.
Yeah, I mean, look what he did. Look what he did. Who is it? Zhang Ming Yang he knocked out or something crazy like that. You know what I mean? Like crazy underdog going into that fight. And Johnny Walker is very dangerous. I mean, he is a he's kind of like a glass cannon as well, just like Aaron Pico. I think that the durability concerns about Johnny Walker are even worse than Aaron Pico. We've seen Johnny Walker get knocked out so many times that you have to start worrying about damage to your health, like post fighting. I mean, the guy's had a lot of brain issues and a lot of, concussions. So it doesn't take much to really turn off the lights. I can also poke holes about Dominick Reyes, who has shown chin issues as well. So this is a very, very volatile fight, and one where I could see either guy winning. And, I really don't think that they're going to go out there and have a staring match. But it could happen. Maybe they're both, recognizing the threat on the opposite side of the cage. But what I actually expect is moments of fireworks and, similar to the main event. I think that Dominick Reyes is a pretty good counter fighter who can kind of lure you into, committing to a combination, fighting off the back foot a little bit and then ripping a counter. When Dominick Reyes goes forward he's dangerous, but he puts himself in harm's way, which is a dangerous spot to be against a long rangy guy in Johnny Walker. So the way I view this fight is Dominick Reyes is the cleaner striker. He should be able to control range, but Johnny Walker's length and explosiveness can clearly give him issues throughout the fight, and it makes him dangerous throughout the entire fight. An extremely volatile fight. I think Dominick Reyes is a slightly safer pick, but meanwhile, Walker always has KO upside. So I'm picking Dominick Reyes here, but if you were flag planting, or I don't think anybody can really flag plant on this fight, to be honest. I mean, because who the hell knows? But I think that Dominick Reyes is the safer pick, and I'm going to be backing him. And also, he's got the southpaw advantage. I think he makes Johnny walk into something, but I would not be surprised if Walker hits him with something devastating and he breaks the slate as well. So this is even more of a necessity than the Curtis Blaydes and Josh Hokit fight, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, look, you could certainly just parlay this fight doesn't go a distance and Jiri Ulberg doesn't go a distance and probably feel pretty good about it. Probably not going to be a great number you're going to have with that parlay, but I do like the way you framed it. Is the safe pick here is Dom Reyes. But we both know, Johnny Walker, he's just tough to trust. I just feel like Reyes is just going to, fight the smarter fight and will take advantage of the holes that Johnny Walker is going to have in his game. To me, the pick is Dom Reyes. But look, if you said, hey, I've got 50 lineups, I probably have 20 of each.
25 and 25. That's what the hell I'm doing.
You definitely could do that too.
I mean, this salaries are broken too, to be honest.
Yeah, no doubt about that one in terms of that one. Our next matchup here is going to be 𝗏𝗏Swanson taking on Nate Landwehr. 𝗏𝗏Swanson comes in here as a -115 betting fair, -110 for Nate Landwehr. 𝗏𝗏Swanson, price of 7,900 DK, 8,300 for Nate Landwehr in terms of this one. Of course, a retirement matchup here for 𝗏𝗏Swanson, seeking back-to-back wins for the first time since 2019-2020. Nate Landwehr, a 500 fighter in the UFC here. Mm-hmm. He's lost 2 straight and 3 of 4, Pete.
Really, really interesting fight. And it's such an interesting fight because it's a war, and it should be a war. And that's kind of what I'm projecting. And I think everybody's kind of predicting, even the matchmakers. That's why they made this fight. I mean, you got 2 of the best at going to war, Nate Landwehr. Oh, that's pretty good. Nate Landwehr and 𝗏𝗏Swanson. And Cub's technically the more skilled fighter. He's technically the better boxer. I think that his jiu-jitsu is better. I think the wrestling of Nate Landwehr is better. I think the judo of 𝗏𝗏Swanson's better. The experience inside the UFC and the WEC definitely gives Cub an advantage. But on the other side, this is his known retirement fight, and I think that adds a ton of pressure. I love 𝗏𝗏Swanson. The WEC was my favorite organization, and I've been following him forever. I think that he is super, super talented. I trained with him when I was out at Jackson's and training with 𝗏𝗏Cerrone. And he was a very difficult spar. He really was, because he was mixing everything. Really hard hands, big throws. And I think that he has turned more into a boxing style than a blended art style, because he's been caught with submissions. He's been taken down and beaten over 15 minutes. But when he's been able to dictate the space and keep it mainly a boxing matchup, he has done quite well. I worry about all of the retirement talk and the emotional roller coaster that 𝗏𝗏Swanson has been on this entire week. I think that is a negative thing for most people, because he's not getting a Niko Price to kind of, be a send-off. And Niko Price ended up retiring also. He's facing Nate Landwehr, who is a known dog, but Nate is coming off of back-to-back knockout defeats. So perhaps the dog that's used to being in wars isn't able to withstand the damage that's going to be thrown his way from 𝗏𝗏Swanson. I think everybody's going to be on 𝗏𝗏Swanson, and a ton of money has come in on him, and he's going to be everybody's favorite pick in the world. And I will just say, from a contrarian standpoint, that the most contrarian option or the best leverage play would probably be Nate Landwehr. Yes, he's mid-range, but also because, the favorite click is is 𝗏𝗏Swanson's swan song, if you will, his final dance. And I think if he doesn't hurt Nate early and this turns into a 15-minute war, I really do worry about Nate imposing just the blended arts of good wrestling, hard shots, and kind of spoiling the send-off of 𝗏𝗏Swanson. So everybody wants a retirement story with 𝗏𝗏Swanson. As Nate Landwehr says, this ain't a fairy tale, this is a fight. And I believe him. I worry about the chin of Nate Landwehr, and this is one I've flip-flopped back and forth on. I'm going to be a little contrarian here, and Cub can absolutely land something early. But I do think that if this turns into a dog fight, I think Nate's the bigger dog, and his pace either edges him out over 15 minutes or possibly, puts it to Cub in the later stages. So I'm not sure many people are going to agree with me on that. And like I said, I've flip-flopped back and forth. I probably wouldn't even bet on this fight, to be honest, because I'm just going to sit back and enjoy it. But I am going to give Nate Landwehr the lean.
Fight goes to decision plus 105 is the number that sticks out to me on this fight.
You will be on the edge of your seat the whole fight.
No, I mean, the decision on this one has been the on the betting side of the one that has stuck out to me the most. I think more times than not, this thing's going to go 15 minutes. That's why I do. That's why it sticks out to me. I mean, you could easily look at either playing Nate plus 325 or Covet plus 275 to win by a decision. And, you know, unfortunately in this game, when you say this is my retirement fight, it typically doesn't go well for you. I mean, you don't have the fairy tale ending that Michael Chiesa had. Because on the other side of that equation was Nico Price, who doesn't have the fairy tale ending. And you know me, Pete, I don't care what you say. I do not believe that R word.
Yeah, I mean, next week he'll be doing BKFC. So what are we talking about? So
yeah. I mean, look, Nico Price will be in BKFC. Fight announcement next 6 to 9 months. Minus 5,000. It's probably minus 5,000 if you want to make that bet.
Yeah, I would agree with you, man. Like, it's hard for a lot of fighters to walk away. And I will say that Swanson's done a great job kind of segueing into a new path in MMA of having his own gym. He's got a great stable of fighters of Danny Silva and Larry and Douglas, to name a few. And I mean, I think both of those guys might beat Nate Landwehr. But they don't have all this pressure of the retirement fight and all the emotional roller coaster that Cub's going to have to deal with. So, I mean, he's got excellent training partners, and Cub's had one historic career. So credit to Cub. I hope that he does win. But like I said, I'll be leaning with Nate.
I saw an interview with Michael Jordan that I think can kind of relate to this. And, you know, Jordan talked about, he's like, I'd love to still play basketball if I could. He goes, but owning a NASCAR team, he goes, it gets my competitive edge going. And that's where I think, and not just in fighting sports, but all sports, where, you know, all of a sudden you don't have that ability to go out there and compete. You got to find something else to go out there and compete in. And, you know, I mean, Cub is the last guy. I'm pretty sure he's the last guy from the WEC still standing in the UFC, which is kind of crazy when you think about all the fighters that were in the WEC before it moved over to the UFC. Next up, we got another featherweight matchup, a matchup that was actually supposed to take place in Bellator about 2 years ago, maybe 2.5 years ago. Patricio Pitbull and Aaron Pico. Aaron Pico comes in here as a minus 260 betting favorite, plus 210 for Pitbull, who is priced at 7,000. Pico price at 9,200 over on DraftKings. We look at Pitbull, third UFC fight, and just like the previous two, the betting underdog in this one, coming off that win against 𝐃𝐬𝐬𝐜𝐿. Of course, we saw Pico lose his UFC debut, getting KO'd by Lerone Murphy. But the thing that, and I was literally thinking about this morning, getting ready to come to the office, Pete, I was like, damn, if I knew Aaron Pico was saying, I'm wrestling, oh man, is he in a majority of my lineups?
Yeah, and I would agree, because I think for me, I'm not done with Aaron Pico, and because he's a hot prospect, but I think for me, I would just play his takedown props. And if I lose, I lose, because I think there's a tremendous path for him to just completely ragdoll the division. And as much as he's been hurt on the feet, you would think somebody would be in his ear. But he goes out there trying to be like Michael Chandler and get into wars. But his chin is not holding up. He's been knocked out way too many times for how young he is. And I think it's going to be detrimental to his career, because he's unable to reach his full potential if he's unable to take a shot. I mean, granted, that spinning elbow from Lerone Murphy was beautifully placed, picture perfect. But you can go back and look at other knockouts. I mean, a hook from Henry Corrales, a flying knee from what's his name from Bellator. You know what I mean? Like, I can go on and on and on about how many times he's been hurt, rocked, or knocked down or knocked out. But this is a classic matchup where it's a prospect versus a proven champion. I mean, Pitbull was a fantastic fighter and one that I looked up to a lot in Bellator. I mean, at the 55 and 45 pound weight class, I think that he's proven that he's dangerous. He has one of the best arming guillotines in the game, and I modeled my guillotine off of a lot of his finishes because he's so damn good with it. He has good punches as well, really good hands, but he's a little too content to be on the back foot, which he'll drop rounds that way, waiting for the perfect shot, waiting for a good counter. And I actually think that he's going to be trying to pull Aaron Pico in and to look for a big counter. And I think if Aaron Pico goes out there and presses him, throws some hard combinations, and Pitbull goes to look for the counter, Pico should change levels and wrestle. I mean, that's what I would be doing. Even though Pitbull's got a good jiu-jitsu game to him and he has, good takedown defense, I don't think it's at the level of Aaron Pico's wrestling at all. Even though Pitbull was able to take down 𝗵𝐸𝐳, I just think that, I mean, we're talking levels, man. We're talking about an Olympic type of wrestler in Aaron Pico. He brings that elite wrestling, good explosiveness, so he could even KO Pitbull, and I would be like, I am shocked, but it's possible. Meanwhile, Pitbull's got the experience. So, I mean, like, I don't mind playing value for Pitbull. I do not see him winning a decision. So if Pitbull wins, I think it's inside the distance. I think that he could possibly snatch up the neck from a lazy takedown of Aaron Pico, or he could land a shot and touch the glass jaw of Aaron Pico. But I'm definitely favoring Aaron Pico in the matchup. I think that I think his composure should be there for this fight because he doesn't want to get hit with that shot. And I think that if he goes out there and competes like a mixed martial artist, he should go out there and prove why he's one of the best prospects in the sport.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things about Patricio Pitbull that, really concerns me, especially when we're talking about from a DFS perspective, is just being a slow starter. And, you only have 3 rounds to work with. And that's where, I mean, even at his price tag, it's a very low price tag of $7,000. But my concern is more on the aspect of, if he comes off to a slow start, what's that fantasy score upside? I mean, are we talking about a win? Is it 60 points? I mean, that to me would be, I mean, even at 60 points at 7,000, I mean, you will take that. But that to me is the concern. But Pico, it is, and I understand if you don't want to get there because, your concerns with the glass jaw. I mean, it's kind of crazy because I looked this up the other day. Pico is 29 years old. I mean, it doesn't feel like he's been around the game that long, but obviously you have the questions of if this stand-up fight, but if you tell me he utilizes wrestling, he has a chance to be a massive slate breaker here. And, and in that 9,000 range, I'd much rather have Aaron Pico than have 𝐃𝐢𝐬𝐳. That's where I'm looking at it in terms of that. Of course, appreciate everyone who's tuned in for this episode of Fight HQ. Be sure to hit that thumbs up button. If you're watching us here on YouTube, leave a comment. Great way to show your support. Also, we do have our DraftKings contest, our Discord channel, and Pete's Patreon links are all in the description of this show. Next up, we got a welterweight matchup. Kevin Holland taking on Randy Brown. Kevin Holland priced at -105 is a slight betting underdog here. Randy Brown -120. Holland is priced at 7,800 on DK. Randy Brown priced at 8,400. Kevin Holland, of course, we know about. This is a guy who loves to fight, but he has lost back-to-back fights, 3-6 in his last 9 fights. Randy Brown coming off that TKO loss, he's 1-2 in his last 3 fights, and apparently we learned Kevin Holland was trying to help 𝗵𝗲𝘁𝘀 get out of a jail in Mexico, and hoping that he's off probation so he can have a rematch. Pete, only this stuff happens in mixed martial arts. Yeah,
I mean, Kevin Holland's an interesting character, and I really like Kevin Holland. I really like Randy Brown. I've been fans of both of them for quite some time. I think that the boxing of Randy Brown is very, very educated. I think that he has a well-educated jab. He can calf kick. I think that, the kickboxing of Kevin Holland is a little bit better than Randy Brown. And to be honest, I think this is a pretty high level striking match. I'm really excited because I saw Randy Brown brought in Phil Rowe to kind of imitate Kevin Holland, which I think is a great training partner. I like the fact that Kevin Holland took a little time off instead of, fighting. I mean, how many times has he fought in the UFC? It's like 20 something now. It's crazy. I remember when he was debuting in the UFC, and at this point, you know what you're getting with Kevin Holland, right? Like, if he takes it seriously, he can beat anybody on the planet. If he is a little lackadaisical and too playful in there, he's bound to piss you off because you got money riding on him. At 185 pounds, I definitely don't like Kevin Holland, But at welterweight, I think that Kevin Holland is a legitimate threat to beat anybody. And, while I view this as a high-level striking matchup, I think that Brown will have, the edge being a little bit more consistent within the fight. So he might be the better minute winner, might be better at the range management. But in saying that, I think that Kevin Holland is the more dangerous fighter here, the more dangerous finisher. And I view this fight so close that it's making me just want to side with the value in Kevin Holland. And, I think that Kevin's very live to land something that hurts Randy Brown. And when all things are almost equal, I got to look at the durability. And the durability of Kevin Holland is much better than the durability of Randy Brown. When Randy gets hit with big shots, he's out, and he's taken a ton of damage. And I don't really see him coming in here lacing up wrestling shoes consistently to expose the Achilles heel of Kevin Holland. So in a very close fight that I view to be competitive, I'm going to side with the guy that I like at 170 pounds more than the other experiment at 185 pounds. So I'm going to be picking Kevin Holland to upset Randy Brown. But I love Randy Brown. I really do. But I think that the jiu-jitsu of Kevin's better. I think the kicks of Kevin are better. I think the hands of Randy are better. And the durability makes me side with Kevin Holland. So I'm going to go Kevin Holland as a dog shot here.
Yeah, I get all that. I just, I think it's what we've seen from Kevin Holland in his last couple of fights. Yep. That's why I lean Randy Brown. I don't, from a DFS perspective, if I'm playing this fight, I think it's take Kevin Holland or pass.
Yeah. I mean, if he knocks out, okay, so how do most people beat Kevin Holland? Outside of Stephen Wonderboy Thompson kicking the shit out of him on the feet, most people are incorporating wrestling. And Randy could, but I think that we've seen when you're not well-versed in jiu-jitsu, you can get your neck snatched up. He just submitted Vicente Luque not too long ago. Yeah. And Vicente Luque is a very good wrestler and very good grappler too. So you got to be careful with Kevin on the mat.
By the way, 29th UFC fight for Kevin Holland.
That's ridiculous. That is crazy.
I mean, remember, this is a guy that got signed because they were like, hey, sign Big Mouth. Let's see if he'll take this fight. Yep. I mean, kind of crazy what he has turned into here in the UFC. Next up, we got a lightweight matchup. We got Mateusz Gamrot taking on Esteban Ribas. Ribas comes here as a plus 155 betting underdog. Price is 7,600 on DK. Gamrot at 8,600 on DK. He is a minus 190 betting favorite. Gamrot is 1-2 in his last three, coming off that submission loss against the Bronx there back in October. And man, you talk about takedown king candidate. In terms of this, Esteban on the other side, 6 UFC fights, 5 of them have gone the distance. But Pete, the thing for me when you look at Esteban Ribas in this matchup is this really is his first true test against someone who's going to be looking to take his ass down.
Yeah, and I think it's a big step up in competition, right? Like if you look at, Brenner, Hokit, Zellhuber, McKinney, Kirk, he hasn't really fought somebody who wants to chain wrestle that much. Like Rajabov did and had a ton of success. And Esteban Ribas, despite having great moments, ended up losing that fight. So I think that this is a massive step up in competition between a classic wrestler and a high volume striker. Esteban Ribas is very, very good, but he was in a war with Daniel Zellhuber. He has shown that he can put high numbers out there for total strike. So he has very good boxing, good kicks as well. Offensively, he can wrestle too. I think that he's a well-mixed martial artist. But I just think that Mateusz Gamrot's relentless wrestling and control should dictate this entire fight. And even though Gamrot's control isn't the best, when you work your way back up to your feet, he almost allows you back up to your feet or has a little too much space. He then chain wrestles again. So, you feel like you're in the wrestling class, just take down, stand up, because you're just getting ragdolled. And what he did to Ludovic Klein was was really remarkable because 𝗚𝗏𝘁 was on an absolute streak, and it's no surprise what 𝗻𝗏𝘁's going to do. Everybody knows that he's going to wrestle you. He's not going to strike with you that much. He's going to go out there and wrestle you, and it's like kind of like the Jordan Burroughs. It's like, okay, they know what's coming, but can they stop it? They can't stop it. So yeah, I mean, I know 𝗵𝗵𝘁 brings serious power and pace on the feet, and Mateusz 𝗻𝗏𝘁's been knocked down in multiple fights. I think 5 or 6 times in his UFC career. I mean, 𝗵𝗵𝘁 could be the guy to really upset Mateusz 𝗻𝗏𝘁 and show that, you know, these chain wrestlers or these lay and pray guys need to start working on, you know, inflicting damage a little bit more in a fist fight. But I think that the lack of grappling and wrestling experience versus his strength of schedule is going to be really evident here. And Mateusz 𝗻𝗏𝘁, I think, is the best play on the entire slate, truthfully. So that's kind of how I view it, and I'm going to be favoring 𝗻𝗏𝘁 significantly here.
Yeah, I mean, that's my thing that I look at this, Pete. Like, when you talk about from a cash gains aspect, I think I'm just starting my lineup with 𝗻𝗏𝘁, and I'm going from there just because of what he can do. But I do have the concerns about fight stays on the feet. How does the striking go? I mean, if you're your best, that's got to be the game plan. Stop the takedown, keep the fight on the feet. But from a cash game aspect, and probably even from a GPP aspect, he's probably, you know, we'll get into that, the popular question we get about a core 3 on DraftKings. He's probably in that core 3, just what he can do from that grappling inside. But I think you do bring up a really good point of, you know, and we've now seen this from the UFC over the last year or two. I mean, there is a priority on, it's not to say that the UFC matchmakers are against grappling, but what they want to see is that you're not a lay and prayer, and that you're just not trying to hold someone down and get, you know, and win rounds. They want to see people that will take you down. They're looking to advance position, and they're looking to finish the fight. And that may be an issue here for 𝗻𝗏𝘁. You know, and one of those guys that, I mean, look, there could be very easily be a time where he gets cut just because of, you know, the lack of putting on exciting fights. Next up, we have got a women's strawweight matchup. You got the former title challenger Tatiana Suarez taking on Lupi Godinez. Price is 7,500 on DK. Plus 125 betting underdog. Godinez priced at 8,500. She's a minus 155 betting favorite in this one. Of course, we all know, I mean, both of these ladies have the takedown abilities. Obviously, Suarez, the better grappler in terms of this one. She's gone the distance in her last 2 fights, is coming off that win against Amanda Lemos. Not the greatest performance, of course, prior to that, losing in the title matchup. Godinez has been a decision machine in the UFC. 12 of her 14 fights have gone the distance. She has won 2 straight. And Suarez to me is a very interesting play because I can see a lot of takedowns where Godinez is able to get up rather quickly.
Yeah, I mean, that is a good point. I haven't thought about that. This is a typical wrestler versus wrestler matchup, and when we have that, it tends to be a striking matchup. So, you know, Tatiana Suarez is a pretty imposing woman for the division. Lupita Godinez is a fighter that hasn't really reached her final form or her full potential, if you will. I think that we're all hanging on to that Ariana Carnelossi fight where she was, you know, chaining takedowns together, boxing, looking like GSP in there, like big combinations, chain wrestling, slamming you on your head, big ground and pound to get back up and, you know, rinse and repeat. Lupita Godinez has been somewhat underwhelming ever since that fight happened, right? I mean, I think that it really like made us set a high standard for her, and she's been unable to live up to it, to be honest. I think they're both, you know, really good wrestlers. Lupita Godinez comes from, you know, a family of high-level wrestlers, of Canadian national team wrestlers of her sister. And, you know, Tatiana Suarez is literally one of the best, if not the best wrestler on the planet in women's mixed martial arts. You know, if we're excluding Kayla Harrison because we're calling her a judoka and not a wrestler. So yeah, I mean, in this matchup, I think that Suarez has the higher end wrestling, good top control, which should allow her to bank some minutes, dictate where the fight takes place. But let's say she's unable to keep Lupita Godinez down, and then this becomes a striking matchup where I definitely think that Godinez is the better striker. I've been noticing that Tatiana Suarez has been really working on her boxing and putting a big stress on her boxing and her training. So she could come out here as a crafty left-handed fighter and just want to strike, which I don't think that's a good recipe, but, we've seen stranger things. Maybe she tries some initial takedowns and is met with adversity, and it's not going to be like her trying to take down a Amanda Lemos who does not have the greatest takedown defense or get up ability. Lupita is going to make you work. So this is one where I'm not putting Suarez in like a trust category, but I do think that she has I think she has the control and positional dominance, which should likely carry her to a win. But I don't hate the value of Lupita Godinez. I mean, I really think that this is a winnable fight for her because the idea of Tatiana Suarez is more high level than what we've been seeing inside the cage. And I think that, Lupita Godinez is really, really tough, especially if she's been working with her sister on her wrestling a lot. But yeah, I'm going to slightly lean towards Tatiana Suarez. But yeah, definitely not a staple within my lineups.
I mean, there have been times where Lupita Godinez has scored very well on DraftKings, but I just think that if Lupi goes out there and wins this fight, that it's just a 15-minute stand-up fight, and that's where then you start talking about at a price point of 7,700, just not really a price point that I would want to get to. That's why, to me, from a GPP aspect, Suarez is such a much more interesting play, just because I think the ability for her to get to the ground, but also, she's one of those fighters that I just think that how much did the injuries really take away of what her ceiling was in the sport? There was certainly a time where you looked at Tatiana Suarez and said, ceiling is UFC strawweight champion. But now you kind of look at her at 35 years old and really wondering if she'll ever get back to that point. Next up, we got a matchup that was a scheduled lightweight matchup, but unfortunately, Chris Padilla missed weight, so it goes forward as a catchweight matchup. Padilla fined 20% of his purse for missing weight by 2 pounds against Marco Medeiros. Medeiros, a plus 130 betting underdog, price of 7,500. Padilla, price at 8,700 on DK, a minus 165 betting favorite. This is a matchup of two fighters who have gone undefeated in the UFC, a combined 7-0 between these two guys here. Padilla, 3 of his 4 UFC wins have come by stoppage, and this is a guy, career resurgence. Through his first 16 fights, he was 10-6, and was facing good competition in the California regional scene. You look at some of the guys he lost, ultimately made it to the UFC, but since then he has won 7 in a row. Medeiros 3-0 in the UFC. Was initially booked to take on 𝗏𝗏𝘁𝗏𝐿 in this matchup. 𝗏𝗏𝘁𝗏𝐿 pulls out. Medeiros is a guy that I got introduced to him when he was a part of the Factory X team, but now he trains out the lab in Arizona.
Yeah, I think this is an interesting matchup. I really do. I think that they're both talented fighters. I think that Chris Padilla is everybody's favorite underdog. He's constantly overlooked and placed in underdog positions where he rises to the occasion. I mean, he throws devastating elbows on the feet, hard combinations. He can wrestle. He can, implement good jiu-jitsu on the mat. He has good ground and pound. He's a well-rounded mixed martial artist. Whereas Markel Medeiros is a very technical type of a Chris Gutierrez type of fighter with good leg kicks, good distance striking. Not really much, besides that. But I think that he's a pretty efficient striker and one that can impose good leg kicks, which has shown to be somewhat of an issue for Chris Padilla. I think that this is somewhat of a sneaky spot for value for Markel Medeiros to go out there and, try to extend this fight over 15 minutes. But I do worry about Chris Padilla's well-rounded mixed martial arts game. I would like him a lot if he just went and chained more takedowns together and look to grapple, land some hard shots, and look for a submission or ground and pound finish because, typically he's a low percentage wrestler, but it's just giving your opponent more to deal with and more, different looks. If Padilla can't get the fight down to the mat, that's where things become interesting. Yes, he can knock out and land good combinations. Markel Medeiros is the same guy that went to a split decision with Austin Hubbard, which has not aged the best. And I think that when you go against Taco Padilla, he kind of puts you in a grinder, and he's going to push a pace. And if you are unable to keep up with that pace or sustain your own, he smells blood in the water like a shark. So I am going to favor Chris Padilla here, and perhaps the weight miss was somewhat strategic, or if he has a wrestling mindset. But yeah, I think that Padilla ultimately puts Markel Medeiros in a bad spot and puts together a very strong finish. But like I said, Medeiros does have a real chance to outpoint him over 3 rounds. So I like this fight. I do think that this fight's going to bring it, and Padilla always brings it. So Price now as a favorite. We'll have to see if he delivers.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's more of, the price on Padilla. I mean, obviously he's gone really well. The Lab is one of those teams. I really love the back there. So, Medeiros is kind of a guy that I think more from the betting side. Maybe somebody that might put a little bit of a small wager on that money line, just because of the value I do see in terms of that one. Then we got a middleweight matchup. We got Kelvin Gastelum taking on Vicente Luque. Gastelum price at 9,000 on DK, a minus 275 betting favorite. Vicente Luque moving up here to take this matchup here at 85. Price is 7,200 on DK. He's a plus 220 betting underdog. Luque actually was supposed to initially take on Kyle Daukaus. Of course, Daukaus moved to the White House card, so he's moving up to middleweight to take this matchup here. He's lost 2 straight. Kelvin Gastelum is looking for back-to-back wins, Pete, for the first time since 2017 and 2018. And 7 of his last 8 fights have gone the distance here. And I mean, this is, could very easily be a leverage spot, just because of, I don't think a lot of people are going to want to get to him at this price point.
Yeah, I mean, I will tell you that when I saw the odds and I saw the DFS salaries, I was like, what am I missing? Like, what am I missing? Why are they so wide? I mean, yes, I should favor Kelvin Gastelum in this matchup, but like, why are they so wide? I mean, and then I started to look at everything and look at the recent 5, and the form of Vicente Luque is somewhat troublesome and worrying. The way he's been dealing with damage and getting hit, and looking to be rocked or knocked out or rattled or submitted by Kevin Holland now. It's like, man, it seems like the ship is crashing a little bit, man. Like, I just don't know. A guy that was able to deal with adversity and take some damage and have some strong durability at times. Now I'm like, I just don't know if that chin's there or if the will is there. It's hard to say no when these guys are getting paid large chunks of money, because if you don't say yes, ultimately that phone stops ringing someday. And I don't think that Vicente's done, but I think that Vicente's best days are behind him clearly, and I wouldn't be surprised if retirement is looming. I really have to say that, because of everything, like the health issues too, right? Like he dealt with that brain bleed and dealt with possible retirement then, and and then he had a little bit of resurgence, and now he's been stumbling. And it's not like, when you built up such a high profile, it's hard to get like gimme fights. They're not going to give you gimme fights. There's really no gimme fights in the UFC. And if there are, they're few and far between. So for me, right, like, this is a former welterweight in Kelvin Gastelum who is just too lazy to make the weight class anymore. So in my mind, I still have 2 welterweights going at it, even though this is at 185 pounds. And the matchup to me comes down to Kelvin Gastelum's durability and his ability to win minutes. I think that the high risk, high reward type of style for Vicente Luque, where he can find a finish, he can snatch up the neck. I just don't see him being the better minute winner here. So he always has his finishing upside. But as long as Gastelum stays composed, it avoids big exchanges, doesn't get completely wrestled to death. I mean, like, offensively, Kelvin can wrestle. And we've seen Vicente start to add that wrinkle to his game over time. I think Kelvin can shut that down and give some issues out of the southpaw stance to Vicente Luque. So I think that the consistency, the pressure, and just the southpaw style can carry Kelvin to a decision or possibly like a late accumulation win, which is a rarity for Kelvin Gastelum. I mean, I don't know when's the last time he had a finish. I feel like this guy is next to Dominick Cruz, he's like the decisionator out here. So yeah, and like when I look at who Kelvin has fought and not been finished by, like I like Kelvin a little bit more. So for me, he's not the best DFS scorer, but I think Kelvin is definitely the play.
So looking over at the DK pick 6, fantasy points, more or less on Kelvin Gastelum, 86.5.
Oh, I say more.
Really?
I say more. I mean, that's low. Yeah, he's probably going to knock 𝗵𝗫𝗁𝗁 Luque down once, twice.
I would, on the pick 6, I would rather play the over 51.5 significant strikes on Kelvin Gastelum.
Oh yeah, as long as 𝗵𝗫𝗁𝗁 Luque can eat 50 something.
Yeah, I just, it is tough to, in 2026 to be trusting Kelvin Gastelum to go out there and get a stoppage victory in that one. And then our opening matchup of the night will be a welterweight matchup. You got Charles Radtke taking on Francisco Prado. Radtke, a -165 favorite, price at 8,800 on DK. Francisco Prado, price at 7,400, and a +135. Betting underdog, Charles Radtke, his last 4 fights, he's alternating wins and losses, so he's coming off a win, so take that for what it's worth. Francisco Prado, 1-4 in the UFC. He's lost 3 straight. All of his UFC losses have come via decision. He's just one of those guys that I just feel like fighting in the wrong weight class.
Yes, I'm glad you said it. And we have a couple people on this fight card where they're kind of like dealing with the weight class X factor. Kevin Holland at welterweight, that's one. 𝗵𝗫𝗁𝗁 Luque going up to 185. Paulo Costa going up to 205. And now Prado fighting at welterweight. I just don't view Prado as a welterweight. I have to tell you, I just don't. I think that it does not fit his skill set either, because he's he's a very jacked guy, pretty compact. But I look at him and I go, he's a lightweight. So yeah, I think that this matchup, and even though Radtke long time ago fought at 155, he truly looks like he's outgrown that weight class. He's a big welterweight. So I like this fight, and I think that Charles Radtke is a surprising talent within the UFC. I mean, he's got a very good wrestling background to him. He's a very good BJJ practitioner. His hands are crisp and tight, and that left hook of his is dynamite. And he trains out of my friend's gym, out of Coach Mike Valley's gym, Valley Flow. So I think that they have a pretty good stable of fighters. Ignacio Bahamondes, Yair Rodriguez, Bilal Muhammad. I mean, the list goes on and on. They have like a really, really strong stable of high-level athletes, and ones that we will be seeing for years to come. So I view this fight as somewhat of a sneaky scoring DFS fight, because I do think that there's a path for Prado to absorb a ton of damage because he's super tough. Losing to 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, to me, I don't view that as a good loss. I don't think that guy's super high level. I think he hits really hard, but I don't view him as super high level. And even though that Prado gets hit a lot, he does push a chaotic pace. But I also think that Charles Radtke has good wrestling and grappling upside in this matchup if he wants to. I also think that he has some finishing ability too. But Prado's toughness has been proven. It's just like he may get completely dismantled from bell to bell. So yeah, I do think that Radtke can land big exchanges. I think that he can land takedowns. He just has to be careful about the volume and the willingness of Prado to stay game within the fight. But I do think that Charles Radtke gets it done either via KO or decision. I'm going to lean decision. I'm going to give Prado some respect. I think that he may get beaten from bell to bell, but I think that he may stay too tough, and this goes 15 minutes.
Yeah, I don't mind Racky as a parlay piece, taking the money line at -165. If you got any questions, line those up in chat right now or in our Discord channel. I know there's already some questions in the Discord. Also, I know we got a super chat to get to as well. Let's get right into our straight up fight picks. The main event, I'm going to go Jiri.
I am going Carlos Ulberg.
I'll go Murzakanov in the co-main.
I'm going to go Murzakanov as well.
I'm going to say Blaydes.
I'm saying 𝗙𝗶𝗵𝘁𝗄.
Dom Reyes.
Dom Reyes for me as well.
I'll go Cub Swanson.
I hope it's Cub, but I'm going Nate Landwehr.
Give me Aaron Pico, even though it goes against my rule of don't bet against Patricio Pitbull.
Yeah, I know. Aaron Pico, and I'll close my eyes.
Give me Kevin Holland as a underdog.
Here we go. Kevin Holland for me as well.
𝗲𝗲𝗫𝗲.
Tatiana
Suarez.
Yeah, I don't like this pick at all, but I'm going to go Suarez.
I'll go underdog number 2 and 𝗲𝗲𝗫𝗫.
Ooh, interesting. I'm going to go 𝗙𝗶𝗵𝘁.
Kevin Gastelum. And Charles Racky.
Charles Racky for me.
Let's get first super chat in here from the day. I always appreciate the super chats from Sam here.
Thank you so much.
Highest leverage plays in each salary tier. So if you look at the 9,000 range, we only have 2 options. It's very clear. It is Kelvin Gastelum.
Yes.
I mean, just because you do see the high fantasy score upside, but Gastelum, I think when you're talking large field GPPs, could be a very interesting large field GPP leverage play, no matter what the salary is.
I would agree.
8,000 range, obviously we have an 8,000 range, we have a 7,000 range. When you look in the 8,000 range and looking for who would be value, obviously not either guy in the main event. I think we can throw out Blaydes, not as value. I don't think I would throw Gamrot out of the equation. I think you may be looking at a Radke, Padilla, or Brown.
Okay, I am going to say that the leverage play in the 8,000 is Nate Landwehr, and I said about it earlier. It's because everybody's favorite click is the swan song of Cub Swanson. Everybody wants to put him in there. I think that everybody's going to play into that narrative, and nobody's going to want to play Nate Landwehr for multiple reasons. And he's coming off of 2 KO losses, so he should not win this fight. He should not. But he is in a leverage spot if I've ever seen one.
Then when we look in the 7,000 range, who is the leverage spot? There are some fighters in the low 7K range that I go, man, I can see a high fantasy score upside. Patricio Pitbull is one of them. If he can, we all know about the perceived and what we've seen chin issues of Aaron Pico. Outside of that, maybe go Diaz at 7,700.
Yeah, I think that's a good one. I also think I'm going down narrative street this week, but most people don't want to bet on Kevin Holland fights anymore. I mean, how many times does he burn your money because he's aggravating? He goes out there and he plays around, and he doesn't take it serious. And I think that people could have lost their trust in Kevin Holland, and he could be in that little leverage spot of the week.
When you look at Sam, and I always appreciate the questions, the takedown king, Gamrot's the easy answer.
That's it, baby. That's it.
I mentioned it at the beginning of the show. I've got 6 fighters. 5 of them are men fighters. Pico, Gamrot, Blaydes, Hokit, Jiri.
I don't think Jiri does it, but I could see your angle. I know you want to say Tatiana Suarez when you bring up the women's fighters for that. I think the Hokit and Blaydes one is perfect. Gamrot is one. And for me, I will play the takedown ladder, and I will literally play the takedown props for Aaron Pico. But until he goes out there and does it, I'm burning money. It's like, what comes first? Aaron Pico wrestles or Curtis Blaydes hits a submission? I don't know.
Give me Pico.
Are you sure?
No. So by the way, over on DraftKings Pick 6, Their takedown prop on Aaron Pico is 2.5.
I'm taking. I mean, golly, take the over. Because that's like. I'm gonna look right now if they got any more. Because listen, man, if he does sides to, he can go out. I mean, I did the same thing for Laurel Murphy. It worked out great, right? I burned all my money. But there's such a path for him to go out there and put up a Gamrot type of number.
Yeah. Mentioned first up, value plays underneath 𝐾 and a core 3 on DraftKings. So we talk about a core 3 on DraftKings. For me, I think it's going to be Mateusz Gamrot.
Yes.
Dom Reyes.
Yes.
Curtis Blaydes.
I'm with you. We are in alignment, and guess what? Honestly, all three of those can go poorly, but I agree with you.
I mean, I almost feel like you talk about a core 3, pick someone in the main event.
Yep.
Pick someone in Dom Reyes and Johnny Walker.
Yep.
And then I think you're looking for, then you start going into the Aaron Picos of the world, the Mateusz Gamrots of the world. Maybe you look at a Padilla or Radke as kind of a leverage spot because people may not get to him as much as the others.
Yeah, and you know who we haven't talked about at all? Murzakanov.
Yeah.
I know that fight probably goes the distance, but if Costa can't handle the power, goodness, that fight could be over.
When you look at value plays underneath 𝐾, I see boom bust. Like Johnny Walker, boom bust. Josh Hokit would very much be a boom bust play. And then, Patricio Pitbull, I would throw in that equation as too. Like, if you told me, who are 2 fighters in the 7,000 range that I feel comfortable rostering, even though I pick Blaydes, I might throw Hokit in there just because of the wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
What the fantasy score upside could be. God, and then I think it's Holland or Walker.
I think that it's Holland for me is the one that I really like in the 7K range, and then I'm in agreement with you where Hokit / Walker is I don't feel good about either, but I think that in the fantasy cruncher days I would make these a part of my lineup.
Yeah. Let's see here. Jason and Pete special, of course. For me, it's the first fight of the night. If I'm playing Racky, I think it's looking at believing I'm going to have a little bit of leverage on the field there. Pete special. It's the main event. I think Pete mentioned it earlier, 50 lineups, 25 on one, 25 on the other.
I think the odds are perfect. I really do. Because there's a lot of unknowns, and I view it as a very close fight.
Favorite parlays. Look, there's it's not a lot of value. If you just want to say fight does not go a distance on the main event, also Reyes Walker. But if I'm looking to play some money line bets in terms of this one, I think I would go Racky, Gamrot, Murzakanov.
I like that. That's
a minus 200, a minus 190, and a minus 165.
Yeah, it's okay to play some chalky stuff every now and then, but
but that's the thing with this card. So many of these lines are so close together. For pretty much most of this card, it's a 2-1 favorite or less.
This card is crazy. I think it's very difficult, right? And I talked about how I'm on the fence with multiple fights, on the fence with the Kevin Holland and the Randy Brown fight, but because of slightly one negative thing that I'm putting weight into, I'm going to lean into the underdog because of the value of Kevin Holland. I can say the same thing about Cub Swanson and Nate Landwehr. On paper, it looks like a nice way for Cub to knock out Nate Landwehr, and I hope it happens. I really hope it happens.
Yeah.
I will still bet on Cub to win via KO because he may come out there and maybe he uses the energy and the excitement as a positive, and maybe he has the career best performance. But that is few and far in between of like how MMA careers go. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I mean, I think even the main event, right? Like I'm going back and forth between Jiri and Ulberg. I can make a case for either one. Very few fighters and fights on this card where I'm like extremely confident, like Gamrot. You know what I mean? It's like that's who I really like this week.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Top punt plays. I mean, when you look at like 7,400 and below, I think Pitbull's the best play in terms of GPPs. Just because of what that chin may be for Aaron Pico.
I don't mind the Paulo Costa as like a possible value. I mean, because the guy is pretty durable, so he's probably going to lose a decision. And he did just beat 𝗵𝗻, who was, you know, a very difficult southpaw as well, very good kicker. I don't hate the line on Paulo Costa. I think Pitbull's, like, what he's done in his career, he should beat Aaron Pico.
Yes. But you know this, age catches up with everyone.
Father Time is undefeated.
Yeah, because I want, you know, because the next question is about top captain plays, and the captain contest is not out yet. Pico could make a ton of sense just because of the takedowns.
Yep.
If Gamrot, I would imagine Gamrot's probably in the captain contest. He makes a lot of interest because of the takedowns upside of it.
If Gamrot loses, my whole night is smoked.
Blaydes Hokit could be the fight in the captain contest you really got to pay attention to.
Yeah.
You know, that's where I put that there.
I think everybody wants Blaydes to knock out Hokit after this week's antics.
Oh, of course. Favorite slate breakers?
Pico could be it. I mean, really.
Yeah, Pico's got that probability.
Sound like a broken record. I say Gamrot again.
Yeah, I mean, it's just because it's the grappling.
Yeah.
He just could be rinse and repeat. Is Azamat the guy we're just not talking enough about?
I feel like it is, because like that left hand is serious, and he's a well-versed, well-skilled Sambo practitioner. He's undefeated, the most unassuming guy. And this is a big jump up from 185 to 205. So
no doubt about it. Road to the Mansion series, over under 6.5.
It's a good number.
I
say over.
I think it's a really good number. Give me under.
Okay.
Give me under. I think we're at that 5-6 range.
Yeah.
But even though the last couple of UFC events, it almost seems like that maybe this finishing bonus has gotten some fighters a little more enticed to go out there and try to get the finish there.
It's true.
Tristan asked about best takedown upside. We talked about Gamrot. I think you got to put Suarez, maybe Chris Padilla as a sneaky takedown.
I mean, I would love that, because I don't think he's the greatest striker. And I think that on the feet, he's got terrible tendencies to getting leg kicked. And I think that's Markel's best path to win.
Yeah.
You know?
And then ranking the 9K fighters, we only have two. To me, it's easy. Pico 1, Gastelum 2.
I've never seen a slate where we've only had 2 and 9,000 fighters. I looked at this. I go, is there something wrong with my app? What the hell is this?
That,
you know, because then, like, my app sometimes, like, it has, like, Pico's face across, like, every fighter. And I'm like, what? Why? Why is it lagging like that?
Yeah, one of the things I will do tonight is I've really gotten into the DK pick 6. So that's one of the things I'm going to look at tonight. I mean, like when I look at the takedown props that they have up right now, Hokit 1.5.
Play that up here.
Blaydes 1.5, Ratke 1.5, Pico 2.5, Tatiana Suarez, she's at 2.5.
What the hell even is it? I don't think I could play that up here.
It's a separate app that you have to download, but it's part of the DraftKings network.
Oh no, it's not. I got the same app right here. Picks. Can I do it?
I don't know. I know you can do it here in Florida. I know you can do it here in Florida, but it is something to kind of pay attention to there.
Oh, it's like Prize Picks.
Yeah. Same premise of it. But really sometimes you have to kind of look at it because some they give you a little bit more of a boost, a little bit more. And sometimes I do it a lot I play a lot on baseball. In terms of that, looking to get a little something different. How wild.
I don't need anything else to be spending money on, but I'm gonna look right now. Can I do it? What's it called?
DK Pick 6.
CT DraftKings Pick 6. Am I allowed? Who knows? I'll have to see. it. But if I can do it, by all means, I am going to do it.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's much easier to play it in other sports as opposed to UFC.
I can do it.
Yeah, but it is definitely especially if you're big into betting on baseball. I think there's a lot of leverage points that can be taken there. But as always, we appreciate everyone who tunes in for every episode of 𝗙𝗲 HQ. Of course, we're here before every UFC event. I'm pretty sure there's a UFC event next week. I'm pretty sure.
I think so.
I'm
excited. Yeah.
I'm gonna make a wild assumption that it's an Apex card. Is that wrong of me to make that assumption?
It is not. It is the Canada card. Gilbert Burns versus Mike Malott. Even worse.
Don't worry. Okay. We're back to Apex fighting April 25th, which by the way, I won't probably won't be able to do a show that week. I'll be in Texas for a wedding on that Saturday, so may not be able to do a show that week. That's the Sterling's Law card. I gotta learn how to do this whole shit so I can do it if you're out. Just like you do it when I'm out, because Jason's the brains behind the operation. So I gotta learn how to do all this shit. Yeah, that's fairly easy to show you how. My mic don't work half the time, so like you think I could fucking do the show? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Mike sounds great. I just want to say thank you all. Yeah, right. Like you're zooming in on my freaking eye. Like you got weird shit going on all the time. The cat's attacking me. But yeah, thank you guys so much for supporting the show. Jason and I really appreciate it. I love my buddy over there, and I hope we win. It's been a while. Jason, take down a fucking contest. Come on. Hey, man, I hope so. Yeah. I'm spending a lot of money these days. I need some wins. Yeah. You got to like step it up. Put yourself in like the 555 contest this weekend. just drop $600 on a lineup. Just one. Just play one. Yeah, if you win, you feel great. You lose, you're like, yeah, I didn't recommend it. Remember, only if you win, I recommended it. So. Oh yeah. I'll be like, hey Pete, I lost. Can I get a donation? Yeah. Subscribe to my Patreon so I can pay Jason off. I go, it's your fault. I lost all this money. Yeah. So, well, I hope we've been due. I mean, last week was awesome. I went 10-3. I think you had a great week as well. I've been really, like honing it in with the model and the algorithm and everything. Yeah. So I like where I'm at right now, and I'm just always trying to provide better picks for everybody, and I know Jason is too. Yeah, I mean, it's I think the past couple of slates have been really difficult just because of a lot of high end options, and where today, I mean, tomorrow we're living in the middle range. And so it'll be interesting to see what the optimal lineup ends up being tomorrow. Hopefully we have a great night of fights. And as always, appreciate everyone who tunes in for every episode, and we will talk to you next week.